Other medical Egyptian papyrus from ancient times include ones like the Kahun papyrus. It is confirmed to be the oldest physical remains, even though the other types of papyrus, like the Edward Smith, there are indications it comes from an even older document. The oldest remnant is about 300 years younger than the Kahun papyrus. The Kahun papyrus contains gynecologic remedies. Other additional papyri that have been discovered, like the Ebers, include treatments for internal medicine or internal conditions or fevers. There are medical resources that have treatments for pediatric patients, other kinds of specialized body areas, and all of these have overlapping bits of content, but oftentimes there are sections or portions of each one of these medical papyri that are unique. So it's hard to say, but these are probably just good representations of the diversity of medical care that was available to patients in ancient Egypt. Some of the pharmaceutical materials that were used. Well, we think of them as sort of everyday items today, but in some of the different medical papyri, they used a cornucopia of different kinds of plants to treat different ailments. Date palms, juniper, pomegranates, aloe vera, even celery and garlic, and frankincense and myrrh. Those are all been used or part of some of the medications or some of the pharmacy that was used to treat different conditions in ancient Egypt. And we do find today that many of these plants, many of these foods, as well as essential oils perhaps, still have medicinal or curative properties. There were 90 drugs derived from 24 animals, like sheep fat, butter. Even honey was used as a source of treatment for wounds or burns. We know now, based on comparative studies, that a burn or a wound treated with honey, or a bandage or a dressing treated with honey, healed much faster and much better than if left untreated or uncared for. Different minerals were used, like calcium carbonate or sodium chloride, common table salt. There were all kinds of vehicles or formulations in the form of powders or ointments, and a variety of different kinds of dressings that could be used on different injuries or affected sites, like seed wool or strips of linen or even poultices. Frankincense and myrrh was of huge importance not only to ancient Egypt, but many areas in the Middle East and North Africa for roughly 5,000 years. It's been a staple in traditional Chinese medicine since 500 BCE and can still be found as a resource for good health or care in the form of frankincense oil, often described as the king of oils, even today. Frankincense and myrrh have antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties, including even analgesic properties. The ancient Egyptians used these two formulations to treat indigestion, halitosis. Myrrh in particular can be found in the form of in fact both of these can be found in the form of a resin from the trees that they're derived from, and the resins can be chewed like a gum. And so you could chew these different resins from the trees that produce frankincense and myrrh as a breath freshener, something to treat dental conditions like bad breath, halitosis, even good as a source of treatment for chronic coughs, or even something like hemorrhoids because of the anti-inflammatory properties of the oil. Opium was cultivated thousands of years ago and was well known to be an analgesic, painkiller. In the Middle East, what's called Mesopotamia, roughly 3400 BC, opium started and was used as a source of painkiller and was still used in ancient Egypt even through the reign of King Tutankhamun around 1300 BCE. Some specific gods or goddesses were given credit for the curative and analgesic properties of poppies, as indicated by the Minoan goddess of poppies and her crown of poppy pods. The Greek author Homer referred to opium's healing power in his book The Odyssey. He noted that opium was used to help people sleep, to relieve pain, and even calm crying children, and definitely was used for anesthesia during surgery. So even though they didn't have things like chloroform and ether available, painkillers like opium still could be used to prevent patients from undergoing excessive pain during surgical procedures in ancient times, if the opium poppy was available. Willow bark could be used. Willow bark is a source of aspirin, and aspirin is, of course, an excellent analgesic, still used today. In fact, in addition to different kinds of plant resins like frankincense and myrrh and willow bark as a source of treatments, ancient physicians also used bloodletting or phlebotomy. In fact, we think that the original sources of using bloodletting as a treatment originated in ancient Egypt, and the first mention of this type of treatment for disease is in the Ebers Papyrus.